Photo, Getty Tony Paterson 22 hours Friday, December 29, 2017 26-year-old Alaa Allssa is one of the estimated 44,000 Syrian war refugees seeking sanctuary in Germany, and he has scant regard for the drive by Angela Merkel's governing coalition to entice migrants to go back to their home countries with cash handouts from the state. It is not difficult to understand why. Mr. Allssa, a spiky-haired chemistry graduate, fled to Germany via the Balkans with his wife and 2 young children in 2015. He comes from the eastern Syrian city of Deir ez-Zor, which was an ISIS stronghold until the US-backed Syrian forces retook it last month. Google Maps photos of Deir ez-Zor show nothing but rubble heaps. About 93,000 civilians were trapped in a pocket in the city for 3 years. The people living in my hometown right now are in constant fear of being attacked by ISIS missiles fired from outside the town, Mr. Allssa told I last week as he stood outside a vast container village on Berlin's former Tempelhof airport, which now houses refugees. Do the Germans think that money is going to persuade me and my family to go back? Open door policy. Mr. Allssa's point cannot be easily dismissed. Ms. Merkel's controversial open-door refugee policy enabled nearly 1 million migrants to enter Germany in late 2015. Thousands of them were Syrian war refugees, but last year only 22 volunteered to return home to the mere handful of areas in Syria deemed at least partially safe. Yet Germany's open-door refugee policy resulted in big losses for the ruling conservative Christian Democrat and Social Democrat coalition partners in September's general election. Almost 13% of the vote went to the new right-wing, anti-migrant Alternative for Germany party. As a result, Ms. Merkel, who is still struggling to form a new government in the wake of her party's electoral losses, is under pressure to show that they are doing all they can to encourage the departure of Germany's 230,000 rejected asylum seekers who have little or no chance of being given permanent residence in their host country. Refugees and migrants seeking asylum in Germany walk among cubicles that contain bunk beds. Photo, Getty. Many in this group come from Balkan countries and Africa. Last month, Ms. Merkel's caretaker government upped cash handouts to migrants prepared to voluntarily return home to €1,000 (£889) per applicant, and up to €6,000 per family. Additional money is also available to help returnees settle in. The offer runs until the end of February, and critics see the deadline as an attempt to get migrants to jump at the money and go home before it expires. For all those who have no prospect of remaining in Germany, voluntary repatriation is a far better option than deportation, Ms. Merkel's conservative Interior Minister, Thomas de Maizière, said last month. Voluntary return. Germany has been funding the voluntary return of migrants for several years. Last year figures reached a peak when 55,000 returned home voluntarily. More than half were given cash handouts. The system has an added, yet controversial, incentive. The sooner a migrant with little or no chance of obtaining asylum applies to voluntarily return home, the greater his or her chances are of obtaining financial help. Would-be returnees have to promise they will not launch a legal appeal if their asylum claim is rejected. Only half of the money is paid in Germany. The rest when the returnee is back home. Refugees and migrants seeking asylum in Germany play with balls in Hangar 7 at former Tempelhof airport. Photo, Getty. This practice has been sharply criticized by refugee support and welfare groups such as Germany's pro-asyl organization. They say this scheme puts pressure on migrants to go home. In this way people are being seduced in the basest manner into not pursuing their legal rights, says Gunter Burkhardt, pro-asyl's director. He believes the government's decision to put an end of February deadline puts the kind of pressure on asylum seekers that could result in their making the wrong decision. Critics also argue that the cash handouts are an attempt to reduce negative publicity heaped on the German government for its policy of forcibly deporting failed asylum seekers to questionably safe home countries such as Afghanistan. Going home. Last year, Germany expelled 25,000 failed asylum seekers. Most were returned to their homes in Balkan countries. German civil aviation pilots refused to fly 222 planned deportation flights to Afghanistan. For many ex-migrants, cash-funded homecoming appears to work. The International Organization for Migration, which organizes cash-funded returnee schemes, cites former refugees such as Methik B., a 33-year-old Iraqi citizen who fled to Germany in 2012 with his wife and 2-year-old son. Methik and his wife had expected life in Germany to be easier and were plagued by homesickness. When his wife became pregnant again, the family applied to return home. They were helped with government handouts and a reintegration program for northern Iraq, which enabled Methek to start a stationery shop in the center of his home city of Erbil. He is now planning a second store and hopes soon to buy a house. Marian Litsch, who heads the Munich-based return agency Coming Home, says many migrants who flee to Germany with high expectations have little chance of finding their feet in their chosen country of exile. Even if they eventually obtain asylum, many migrants feel estranged in Germany for years, she says. They suffer painful bouts of homesickness and see their lives unfolding without them getting anywhere. Going home is often the last resort, but in the end it can heal. In news https://anews.co.uk